Hello and welcome everyone to our Agile Boston podcast for September 2024. And I am with our great friend of the pod, Dave West, CEO of Scrum.org, who will be presenting this year at our 16th annual Give Thanks for Scrum event, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, November 26th. Dave, we have a great, compelling theme this year, the future of Scrum.
I know that the future of Scrum, I think it's would be really interesting to hear everybody's perspective. I know I'm going to share mine. I know Jeff is going to share his, but I'm really excited to hear everybody's perspective of where is Scrum going in the 21st century.
All right, Dave, where is Scrum going? There's a lot of angst out there. A lot of people are seeing Scrum Masters getting laid off and coaches laid off. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and the internet saying, asking the question, is Scrum dead? Is Agile sort of run its course? So I think there's a little bit, or maybe even a lot of panic out there. But what do you think's going on from your perspective?
That's a huge question, Joe. I mean,
Hey, we ask the
it's
huge questions on this pod.
you too. They're pretty big. Okay. There's a lot of factors. I think we should all be cognizant of the macroeconomic environment that all our companies are in. The fact that organizations are achieving earnings not by revenue growth, unless you're Nvidia, obviously, or these sort of companies, but in general, we're not seeing massive revenue growth, but we're still seeing earnings, as I think everybody's 401k can attest to at the moment. So I think that discretionary spending is down, and CFOs are running organizations more tightly than they have, certainly during COVID and since COVID. So because of that, I think there's definitely generally a level of malaise in the industry. I do, though, think that dare I say, the agile bubble has burst. The age of agile transformations has definitely run its course. You know, Pretty much the majority of organizations have had at least one agile transformation.
Or if you're
And
Fidelity, you've had several.
yeah, you have several, and there's probably still more to go. They'll just be named something else. The reality is that these agile transformations have been going on, for the last X number of years, and they've happened and they're done. And there's only so much funding that you can associate with agility in an organization. You can imagine an investor saying, we gave you 20 million, 30 million. Are you not done yet? And they're like, well, and I think that, we're all guilty of selling a bill of goods that isn't totally accurate. We all know, as people that are in this sphere, that agility isn't something that you do and you're done. It's not like, I know, building something. It is about creating a culture of continuous improvement, a culture of focus on value, a culture of empiricism, self-organization, and that those things will need to be continuously inspected and adapted as the environment around it changes.
But don't you think like that's maybe one of the problems is that when we answer the question, when are you done? And the answer is we're never done. But in reality, we're done when the culture is what you just said, a culture of empiricism, a culture that constantly inspects itself and adapts. So in a way, when you get the culture of your organization to that point, could you say that, okay, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve?
If you could measure culture effectively, yes, probably you are right. However, the reality is that the environment changes continuously. Agile isn't ever you should never want. Agile isn't the objective. Yes, you should want to be more agile in responding to your customers, delivering more business value, doing all those things. But agile's never the objective. Now, the reality is that Agile is a mechanism that we can create a culture that allows us to be more effective to deliver on the challenges that our organization is facing. and it comes with some ideas, some rules, some principles that just make sense. And so we need to implement those ideas and principles in pursuit of something that has a tangible benefit to the business. And the business is always trying to do something better. So it's like, oh, we needed to innovate more effectively. Oh, well, now we need to be more effective. It's sort of so ironic that when we're reducing costs, the first people we get rid of are the people that actually are trying, or should be, and whether they are or aren't is a different question, but should be trying to increase flow, reduce impediments, and increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of the teams that they're working with. But we get rid of them because we're
Yeah,
trying to reduce costs.
yeah, we consider them nice to haves because they're not writing code or testing code when really it's about, as you mentioned to me privately, it's about improving your delivery, your ability to deliver.
And and I think we shot ourselves in the foot with respect to that. We sort of allowed this idea that a scrum master can't be responsible for value, can't be part of the management because that reduces transparency, can't be, just a manager in an organization. We sort of encouraged that, and maybe I was guilty of it as well, incorrectly.
I certainly was. I
Um,
certainly,
I believe the best scrum master I've ever seen have titles like delivery manager now,
well,
or they're helping a delivery manager if you've got a huge organization where the delivery manager is ultimately managing politics rather than delivering work. They need to have that accountability to be able to actually drive change. They need to be empowered. They need to have the authority to make decisions. This whole agile coaching wave, I respect the ideas, the sort of concentrating on those sort of powerful questions and the Socratic method and all that. They're great ideas, but ultimately, it's about getting stuff done, and it's
yeah.
about getting stuff that adds value. And if you ask Ken and Jeff about agile coaching, both of them aren't completely anti it, but they're not as positive. That trend definitely undermined the sort of the idea that you're going to bring somebody in that helps get delivery, smoking, delivering
And
amazingly.
and that's part of the problem. Like, there's a lot of coaches out there that are more life coaches or career coaches where they ask you a lot of questions. They try to get you to try different things and figure things out. Whereas the coaching that we really need is more of a consultant, someone to come in and say, no, 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 no. These are the things that as a scrum master or as a scrum team, or as a scrum organization, team of teams, these are the things that you need to be paying attention to. These are the things that matter to the business and that will show the business the value that you're bringing. And I think we've kind of missed the mark maybe with a lot of our coaches out there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the only people that you can't tell somebody to change, they have to want to change themselves. So I get the whole method and the like. However, at the end of the day, it's about delivery. And I
Yeah.
think that we have been focusing too much on some of those other elements, which sorely missing in modern management practices. Fair play. Maybe, the psychological safety isn't something that we teach managers to foster or create. And maybe we need to invest more in that, but we should be coaching these people with authority to become better delivery leaders, or working directly with them in large organizations. And we need to have the authority. Like, people ask me all the time, can a scrum master fire somebody from the team? It's not ideal, and obviously that's a last resort, but you bet they can. If you've got somebody that's being disruptive continuously, you have to make those choices.
Yeah, and it's not
And
about firing them, like literally firing them, but it's
it
about
might
saying
be.
person is detrimental to the team. We need to move them someplace else, and then it's up to the managers to decide. Okay, can we move this person someplace else or
But
fire
and
them?
that's the reason why they need that authority, because then that changes the whole dynamic. Because
Yes.
it means that somebody will come to you and say, look, this is broken and we need to fix it. And it also means that the people that are paying their wages understand what they're doing.
Mm.
Because that's another reason why we've got rid of a lot of scrum masters in organizations, because they were like, what do they do again? haven't we done Scrum now? Aren't we? Don't we do it? Yes, yes, we do it. So why do we need a Scrum Master to come in and help me
Mm,
anymore? Can't we just get the delivery lead to do that, or can't we just get a member of the team to, deliver on those accountabilities? And the answer is yes. It's
mhm,
funny. People often ask, does Scrum.org have a Scrum Master? And the answer was definitely yes. But what was interesting is the last year that we had that Scrum Master, we recently he left, and the reason why he left wasn't because we didn't think he was adding value. He thought his time had come, and he'd spent the last year empowering members of our team to take over the authority, the basically the accountabilities of Scrum Master. And the
mhm,
reason why he did that is he said, me telling people, so the first few years of him being part of our team was incredibly effective. He was like, oh, look at that. Hang on a minute, your backlog looks a bit task oriented. Oh, damn. Oh, look at that. Is that a realistic forecast? Oh, look at that. Let's look at that roadmap. He did a really good job making things like, I was like, oh, yeah, we should know better. Oh, we should know better. And because we do know better, but it's
yeah.
cobbler's children and all that sort of stuff, right? So the first few years he was really good at that. And then he said, I'm seeing my impact diminish. One, because many of those things are fixed. But the second reason is my job now is to empower people to take over that authority. And what he found was that it was harder for him. They were like, oh yeah, that's just Owen going on, not nastily. My team's lovely, but that was what happened. So ultimately, he spent his last year, about 9 months of it, empowering people, getting things up to speed, making sure that everybody knew what they were doing. So now we literally, for delivery, we have somebody that's acting as Scrum Master. For operations, we have somebody that's acting as a Scrum Master. For BT, the business technology, we have infrastructure and stuff. We have somebody that's acting as a Scrum Master. And it's just that they take on that accountability. We talk about it. Everybody's aware of it, and off they go.
Yeah.
They've never let me do it, Joe, obviously, because that would
I wonder
would be
why.
ridiculous. Well, I'm just, yeah. They say there's this, conflict of interest between product ownership and Scrum Master, and I probably would agree, but
No,
but they also appreciate that I'm rubbish at all that stuff. So
sure. Yeah. So, this is a great conversation, and this is the type of conversation we're going to have at our 16th annual Give Thanks for Scrum. We're doing something a little different this year. Instead of having us sit through a morning and an afternoon of session after session from different speakers, which in past years has been fantastic. We've learned so many good things. This year we wanted to get more interaction from our audience. And we're going to be doing an open space in the morning where we're going to talk about what is Scrum and what is the future of Scrum? What is it going to look like moving forward? And you're going to be part of that open space, Dave, not necessarily as a presenter, but someone who's going to be maybe floating around and going to some breakout sessions and contributing your thoughts. And so it's kind of cool to be able to come to the Give Thanks this year and sit side by side with you and talk to you kind of about something versus hearing a lecture. What do you think about that?
I'm super excited. One, it's, I mean, I hopefully I'm going to have an opportunity to share my thoughts in the afternoon, but in the morning,
Well,
I'm super excited to be isn't it called butterfly? Isn't that what they're called in open space
if you go from
terminology?
session to session, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I don't know if I'll be able to fly. I'll be really more like a fly, causing trouble, buzzing around, the odd bite. No, no, no. But I'm really excited to actually have that opportunity because we spend a lot of time, in my role, sharing and not maybe enough time listening. And so I can't wait to hear, you know, Boston was one of the first places in the world to do Scrum, right?
It's
Patient
born here.
Keeper was 30 years ago, 30 something years ago. We've had people that have been trained by both Jeff and Ken that have worked with them. We've got a really active community of Scrum practitioners. And one thing that we can leverage in this open space is everybody's collective knowledge. And I think that's going to be much smarter than listening to me talk, all day. And I think we get the opportunity to bounce ideas off each other and leave that open space with maybe some things that we can focus on that can help us take Scrum to the next year, as it were.
And I think it's going to inform your talk in the afternoon, right? I mean, the stuff you hear in the morning, you might say, I wasn't thinking about talking about that, but you know what? I might incorporate that. So it's almost taking an agile approach to your presentation in the afternoon, and maybe even the Q&A session that happens in the afternoon.
Definitely for the presentation and the Q&A, I will do my best to leverage all the stuff that I learned. It certainly will change the words I use, and it will probably, yeah, that's actually really good at a point, Joe. Maybe I'll keep my presentation relatively short in terms of fixed content and have more flexibility in it because of that open space in the morning. Good idea. There we go. Always learning.
See, I can be a competent Scrum Master sometimes.
I think you're probably an amazing Scrum Master, but
Thank you.
yeah.
This is fantastic. So our 16th annual, I never thought we would get to 16 years of doing this. This was something that was the brainchild of Dan Mezek 16 years ago. It was maybe let's do it once or twice and celebrate Thanksgiving because he knew that that's when Ken and Jeff were here with their families that week because they were usually traveling throughout the year. Um, and here we are 16 years later doing another one. But I think this theme this year, as has been the case that in past years, is really relevant to the agile world that we're in right now. Wouldn't you
Oh,
agree?
yeah, no. I think everybody's nervous about what the future is. People have invested a significant amount of time and money and effort into Scrum, and it's part of their not only their LinkedIn profile, but their DNA. And there's a lot of talk about whether Scrum is dying or whether is the future Scrum or is it something else? What is next? And I think that we have a great opportunity at the 16th Give Thanks for Scrum to really not only have some level of empathy for each other and learn from each other, but also think about that future and where Scrum's going. And I'll certainly go in with both my ears open, though my grandmother always said, Dave, you have two ears and one mouth. It's a shame you don't use them in that order. And I'm like,
Oh,
yes, I wish that I could. So I'm going to try to listen and learn because I think we have an opportunity to leverage the collective wisdom of the entire community to hopefully come out with some positive things that we can take forward to help our lives a little bit.
well, I can respond to is, boy, do I love your grandmother.
She's a rock star, Joe, as
Yeah,
you as you as you as you've probably heard multiple times. She was a very special lady. She brought me up. So
yeah, yeah. All of our grandmothers were fantastic. My grandmother passed before I got old enough to appreciate her enough. So I'm happy that you were able to get that. Anyway, everyone, this has been a great conversation, Dave, and I want to thank you again and thank Scrum.org for all the support you've given Agile Boston, the Agile Boston community. This event, Give Thanks for Scrum. And yeah, we're going to be doing the design this year is a little different. We're doing an open space in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to hear from Jeff Sutherland, Dr. Sutherland. We're going to hear from Dave West, who represents Ken Schwaber and Scrum.org as CEO. And then we're going to do our traditional Q&A session with Jeff and Dave and Dan Mezek, the founder of Agile Boston and the Open Leadership Network to answer all your toughest questions. We're going to have some special guests in our open space. We're going to have a raffle like we do over the year. We'll be raffling off books and deep discounts to upcoming training sessions. So it'll really be a great event. We're going to have obviously a great breakfast, a great lunch, so you'll be well fed as well. And this is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, November 26th. It is a live in-person event at the Microsoft Building, 5 Wayside Drive in Burlington, Massachusetts. Tickets are available right now through Eventbrite. You can get that through our website, agileboston.org, or if you're on our mailing list, you'll be receiving weekly marketing emails about this event coming up. So, Dave, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support you've given this community. And I can't wait to see you in person on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. If I don't get an opportunity to see you beforehand, I hope I will, because I know you're having an event next week, I think, or within the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping to stop by.
We are, but yeah, so come to the 16th annual Give Thanks for Scrum. If you want to avoid going to the supermarket, which is what I've used for the last 9 years as an excuse not to go shopping for my family, then, but you also learn something as well, even though avoiding the supermarket around Thanksgiving is something I would recommend. So yeah, the 16th, I've been there for the last 9 years, and I think this was my 10th. So I'm excited to be there as well. Thank you. And thank you, Joe, for organizing it. You and Dan are pillars of our community.
Thank you. And everyone, I hope to see you there soon. Have a great rest of the day.